Okay, here we go. Recording. So first, we'll start with the box, cube as they call it in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to stretch it out just a little bit, lengthwise, and then stretch it out widthwise. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start subdividing. So we're going to add more geometry to it. So we're going to go into edit mode, and we're going to start adding edges to it. So Control R, and we'll add a center line, and I'll use my scroll wheel to double that, and that's what we'll do. We'll adjust it just a little bit, and we'll set it down right there. And then we'll do another center line right down the middle, like so. We'll drop the tool, that way it stays in the center. And this will be the start of our vehicle. Next, what we'll do is we'll make some minor adjustments. So like I don't want the middle of the car to be this short. So I'll bring it up just a touch. And I'll do the same thing for the back. I'll bring that back just a little bit. Next, what I'll do is we're going to extrude up. So we're going to start creating the very basic shape of our car. So E for extrude.
How did you do set cutting part again? The Control R, because when we do, we can't get it.
Okay, Control R. So if you can't do that, here, because I've already started on that one. Let me make another box real quick. So if we're in edit mode, we can do, where is it at? Loop, cut, and slide. So if you go to edge, loop, cut, and slide, and then you can, once you mouse over your actual object, you'll see where you can set it. And if you just mouse in different regions, you'll see how that shape changes. And if you have a wheel on your mouse, you can scroll up to add more divisions, like so. Okay, you got it? Did that work out for you?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so now we're going to start actually forming out the car. So we'll scale this down a little bit. I'll bring this back just a touch. And then what I'll do is I'll grab the edges here, and I'll bring this back just a little bit. And I might want to bring this forward a little more. So I'll select all my points. And I'm going to move this forward. Now, obviously, it's a little too boxy. So I'll bring this down just a little bit for the back end. And for the front end, I'll bring this down just a little bit more. And then to give it a little more shape, I'll select the edges here. And I'll scale on the X and bring that in just a touch. So now we've kind of got the basis of a fairly basic vehicle. What I'll also do is I'll bring this out just a little bit to give it a little more shape to the hood. And I'll do that to the back end also. Actually, you know what? I'll bring this whole thing out, round it out just a little bit. Like so. And I'll do the same thing for the front of the car, just to give it a little bit more shape. So now once I'm here, we can start adding some features to the vehicle. So I'll select the front. I'll hit I for insert. and I'll bring that down. Now I want to add a little more feature, or a thicker outline to this front grille. So another thing I can do is I can select these two edges. And what I can do, because there's a little bit of a taper you can see on the front end, and I want to keep everything in alignment, I can do G, G, so hit the G key twice, and that will slide it along the edge of the geometry, and that'll keep everything in line. And I'll do the same thing for the bottom portion, but I'll give this one a little more because obviously there's going to be a bumper right there. Next, what we'll do is in polygon mode again, we'll go in here and we will extrude, but we'll bring this in since we're going to add a grill to the front end of this. Now I'll create the windows. Hold on, let me get rid of the box here. Okay, so we'll get back in edit mode. We'll select the window that we want to inset, and we'll do I for inset. We'll bring it in just a little bit, and that looks fine. And then here, I need more than one window. Obviously, there's a front and back seat to this. So we'll add an edge, and I'll bring it back just a touch. I'll come back in polygon mode, and now I'll inset these windows. So I for inset. And I'm fine with the way this is on either side, but I don't like how it's going on the top and bottom. So I'll edge slide that. And I'll do the same thing for the bottom. And I'll do that again as we keep going. So we'll inset. And then I'll slide those edges again, just to keep everything in proportion. Don't need to be exact. This doesn't have to be perfect. Inset. And then we'll edge slide those again. And we'll do the same thing for these last couple of windows. And then what we'll do next is we will extrude this geometry, but we'll set it in to give it a little bit of depth. So now we've got all of our windows, but everything's very flat. So what I'll do is I'll come in here, E for extrude, but I'll bring it in just a little bit. And I'll do that for these also. And now our car has just a little bit more depth to it. So now we can start making the grill. And what I'll do is I'll duplicate this, and this will separate it from the actual geometry. So Shift D, and you can see how it lifts out. But I'll drop that back in place, and then I'll move it up with the move tool. That way it moves exactly where I want it to. And then I'll extrude it. I'll do a Control L to select the linked geometry. So any geometry that's physically attached to that geometry will come into play. And then what I'll do is I will scale that on the X so that it goes inside the geometry here, so it intersects. That way, we don't have to build out anything special, and no one will ever see it. And we'll do that again. We'll just duplicate it up. Bring it forward just a little bit. And then what I'll do is I'll duplicate both of these. And then I think I can do it one more time. And then I can add one more, it looks like. And then what I'll do is, I don't like how close they are to the front. So I'll do Control L for selecting linked, and I'll bring that in a little bit more. So now we can build our bumper. So we'll duplicate it, Shift D, drop it. We'll bring it out just a little bit so we can kind of get an idea of the overall shape of the bumper. We'll E for extrude. And this time what I'll do is I'm going to square it out just a little bit. So we have these two edges here and here. We'll scale those on the X. I'll kind of match the alignment of the car. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this entire bumper. I'm going to scale it up. Go past that bumper just a little bit. I'll bring it down and back. Now the car has a bumper that's nicely aligned with the rest of the shape of the car. And I'm going to do this for the back end also. So what I'll do is I will select these two, duplicate, bring it out just a little bit, but this time I'm going to add an edge right here. I'm going to bring this down. That way I can eliminate all this excess geometry. So I'll select both of these and just simply delete and select faces. So I'll select the two bumper pieces, E for extrude, bring it out, Control L to select that piece of geometry, scale it up just a little bit. I might have scaled that up just too much. Yeah, we'll bring that down, and then we'll pull that piece of geometry down. And now I've got the basic shape of my car. You know, obviously we need to add wheels and side view mirrors and lights. So we'll do that really quickly. So the next part is we will add the headlights. So I'll get out of this model. So I'll go back in object mode. And what I'll do is I will add, so Shift A, and we'll add a cylinder. I'll pull this over. And what I'll need to do is I'll need to rotate it forward. So in my object settings, or another trick you can do is R for rotate, X for the X-axis, and then type in 90 and enter. Otherwise, you can go over here to the orange object model mode where it says rotation on the X, just type in 90. So now we'll scale that down. We'll pull it over. We'll place it in place. Like so. So we'll go back into edit mode. And we'll insert, bring it in just a little bit, extrude, and bring that in. And get out of that. And then we'll Shift D for duplicate. And we can pull that down just a little bit and we'll pull it in. Like so. Now, in order to duplicate this on the other side, what we can do is we can do what's called a mirror. So what I can do is where the little wrench is, where it says modifier properties, we'll come over here and we'll hit mirror. And where this little eyedropper tool is, we'll click on that and we'll select the car. And you'll see it'll populate over to the other side. If it doesn't do that initially, all you have to do is, check which axis you're on. And we'll do the same thing for the other part here. Mirror. eyedropper tool, select the vehicle, and there you go. Now you've got lights on the front of your car. So in order to make this final, we'll apply that like so. Next part is, now that I have this duplicated, we'll duplicate it again. This time we're going to rotate it -90. And we'll pull this back. And now we have our rear view, our brake lights. And just that quickly, we have the beginnings of a vehicle. So now let's go ahead and we'll make the wheels. So again, we'll do Shift A, Mesh, Cylinder. But this time we're going to rotate it on the Y-axis 90 degrees. So we'll place it over here on the side, about where we want it. Let me see here, got that perspective. Bring it up just a little bit. So here we go. We go into edit mode, insert. Actually, no, I don't want to insert. Hold on. I want to bevel. And you'll see why is that we want to round off these edges. So we'll control B for bevel. And if it doesn't do it initially, that's okay. What you'll see is if you drop the tool, you'll see a word bevel right here. We'll click that up. We'll bevel that. And then what we'll do is where it says segments, we'll add segments, and you'll see how that'll round over that geometry. Once you've done that, we'll insert. And then what we'll do again is we'll extrude, but I'll bring out just a touch. Insert it again. And then I'll extrude it in. Just a little bit. We'll start here and we'll extrude it again. And you'll see why we're doing this in a minute. And then we'll extrude it one more time. And now what we're going to do is we're going to insert. About like that. And then we'll extrude it out. And then I'll scale that cap there. So now what we can do is, rather than this just be a flat wheel, we can pick about every other polygon. Like so. And what we can do is we can do a face, extrude faces along normals. And we'll just pull that out. And then we'll bring it forward. And now we have a wheel. Now, obviously, we don't need a wheel that wide. So we'll take this face and we'll pull it in. But we will also bevel this in just a little bit and add a few segments. And there's your wheel. All right, is everyone able to follow along so far? Any hiccups anywhere? Any questions? Okay, let me see.
No.
Okay.
All good.
All right, perfect. So once we have our wheel in place, we'll start duplicating this wheel. So we'll add a modifier, mirror, and hit the pick, and we'll select the car, and that should duplicate it to the other side. And then what I'll do is I'll apply that, and I will duplicate it normally, like so, but that way I can bring it forward. If I mirror it, it might duplicate it somewhere else, like here or here or here. So we'll pull it up, and that's about good. Right there. That's about right. And that's kind of the basic rough outline of your car. So once we're at that point, then we can start outlining the shapes and such. So hopefully that should be a good, that's about everything I've covered. So let's go on to actually building the scene a little bit, because I want you guys to start to learn about that portion of it too. So give me 1 second. I need to find a file for you guys really quickly. And let me see, how would I add this? Well, I'll have to ask Mr. Pham in a minute. But let's go back to, well, let me show you how we're going to actually start to build the scene. That way we're all on the same page first. So let me hide this. So really quickly, we're going to start actually setting up our scene because we've only got a few more minutes left here. And we're going to talk about what we're going to do is we're going to build the road, the sidewalks, put some trees, and we'll put some buildings back here. So to get started for us is we're going to start building our ground. Very basic, real easy to do. And what we do is we'll create here, just so you guys can get an idea of how it's built. We'll create a plane, like so. And we're going to scale it out. And we're going to go into edit mode. And what we're going to do is we're going to select our edges. And we'll extrude these up. And then we're going to extrude them again. But we're going to drop them back in place. But this time we'll scale them on the X outward. So now you see we have a road. And we have a sidewalk. Now if I select this edge again, we'll extrude it out. And now we've got potential green space here. So we can put grass. We can make this into a parking lot. There's a lot of options here. But then to set up for our buildings, what I'll do is I'll extrude this up just a little bit. And I'll extrude it out like so. And then what I'll do is I'll scale this on the Y. Now I've got a road, a sidewalk, and a platform for our buildings. The next step is we're going to start texturing. So this is where we add imagery to our actual objects. So similar to the way I put the decal on the car, and I'll show you. But what we're going to do is we're going to do what's called UV mapping for this. So the first thing we have to do is we have to assign a shader, and we'll call this road, and we'll bring that down just a little bit. We'll add another shader. We'll call it sidewalk. And what we'll do is we'll go into edit mode and we'll select the geometry where that's going to be our sidewalk. So pretty much everything from here on, this is all sidewalk. And we'll assign that. And we'll bring that gray down just a little bit. That way you can see some differentiation. The next part is we're going to actually add a texture to it. And this is what I'm going to send you guys. The actual image we're going to use. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select the road. I'm going to do what's called a UV, Smart UV Project, and say OK. The next thing I'm going to do is where I have my timeline. Well, hold on. Let me show you guys how to alter this a little bit. So in your window, it probably looks like this. What you can do is where it says the timeline, you can drag this up. You'll get a little up and down arrow. Drag it up just a little bit. And then you'll see this corner. And you'll get and you'll get a crosshair. You want to click and you want to pull that over. And the two windows we're going to use is one, we're going to use UV editor. And over here where the timeline is, we're going to use shader editor. Now here's where we're going to start building our texture. So first we're going to generate our nodes. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to do an input texture coordinate. So this tells us what object or what it's going to reference in order to put this texture in place. Next, we're going to have vector mapping. This will allow us to move the object, rotate the object, give it its general coordinates. And since we're using a UV map, we're going to plug the UV into the vector. And how you do that, you just click and hold one dot and drag it to the next one. Next, in order to assign that texture, we're going to use an image texture. So we're going to plug the vector into the vector, and then the color into the base color node here. And you'll see how you got a quick change right there. Now we need to assign our image. So this is what I'm going to give you guys. Sorry if I don't have it quite ready yet. Okay, you can share material with the students under the classroom tab. Okay, let me see if I can share this with you guys really quick. So in the classwork tab, let me see. Create material. And we're going to add the image. So my C drive, temp, color textures. Okay, so now it is, thank you, Martin. So now in your classwork, there should be, let me see here. Trying to see where exactly that went just now. One second, maybe I didn't do it right. Okay, texture map. Sorry, I didn't post it correctly. Okay, so in your classwork, under the Google Classroom, there should be a texture called road 007_2K color. And that's what we're going to assign to it. So when you have a chance to load it, what we're going to do is we're going to open it. We're going to load that texture, road 2007 color. And what you're going to see is that piece of geometry that we had selected here is now our road here. So in order to kind of more make these center lines a little more proportional, we can select the geometry in the UV editor. And we'll do a scale on the Y. And you'll see how that line starts to come in more into play. And now we have a road with a sidewalk. And we have all of our cars. To view. Hold on. Let me make sure you can see everything I've got going here. And now you kind of see how we're starting to build something. Let me hide all this. So again, from here, we're going to start building some buildings, trees and shrubbery, maybe a fence. And then we might add some, if we have time, we'll start adding some people. So are there any questions so far?
So you are going to post this recording on Google Classroom, correct?
Yes. Are there any other questions? Okay. Well, I think this is a good place to stop it. We've done a good refresher. I've shown you how to build the roads, add the textures, and then next week we'll start actually building out some other stuff to create a full scene. Okay? So you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I will be sure to post this very shortly on the Google Classroom so you have it as reference. All right, so you guys have a great day. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Say thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Kids,
Mhm.
say thank you.
Thank you.